On behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, we are welcoming all of you. Today's guest is Dr. Kaushal Thaker, who is going to give a lecture on human rights, contemporary issues, and way ahead for India. Thank you so much, Kaushal bhai, for accepting our invitation at a go, and then you gave kind consent to be here with us and speak on the subject. I will brief about the Kaushal bhai. Born in Bombay in 1961, Dr. Kaushal J. Thaker has a background in law, including BS in chemistry from MG Science College. He has also done LLB from Sir Elisa Law College and a PhD in environment law from Gujarat University. He joined the bar in 1987 and has practiced in various legal matters including labor, service, constitutional, civil, and criminal matters. He has been Resources Fellow with Gujarat State Judicial Academy and National Judicial Academy, Judicial Bhopal, and has attended numerous conferences on environment matters. It is indeed great that being in the law field, you are taking care of the environment also. He has also been trained mediator and has conducted several Lok Adalat as chairman of Legal Services Authority for the district. He has served as a justice of the Allahabad High Court too. He is appointed as chairperson of Gujarat State Human Rights Commission and currently pursuing a postdoctorate studies from National Forensic Science University on compensation for the environment. I welcome on behalf of all of you and Ahmedabad Management Association to Dr. Kaushal Thaker. I welcome him with a bouquet. Now I request him to take a dais.
Good evening, all of you. It's indeed a pleasure seeing all of you, and I thank all of you, because I have been taught that without an audience, your sermons are going to be of no value. And therefore, you being here gives me enthusiasm to speak on the subject. Human rights topic has always been a live topic. The reason being, wherever there is a requirement of justice, it gives an occasion for its development. What do we understand by the word occasion of development? If we go through the history, we had never heard of what we call as transgender rights or rights of the women for a particular, in particular fields, say maybe worshipping. And there is a bifurcation of two. One, rights. Second, your basic rights. The new dimension of law and justice. Just before I came here, one of my colleagues had sent a WhatsApp message showing that the Chief Justice of India has declared that all the matters on the cause list of the Supreme Court would be sent to you on WhatsApp messages. It's a welcome feature. Why do I take it in this? As a litigant, I have a right to know when my matter would be listed. And there are certain rights which have now been elevated to the position of your basic right. To quote Justice Verma in his celebrated judgment on New Dimension of Justice, he observes, and I quote, "Justice is the ideal to be achieved by law. Justice is the goal of law. Law is a set of general rules applied in administration of justice. Justice is in a cause on application of law to a particular case." Why this? Why did he have to say this? The reason is, we are given rights and we have forgotten what duties are. Recently, the Human Rights Commission of the state of Gujarat was perturbed by a newspaper report that a teacher was arrested from the midst of the students. We were not worried about whether the teacher was arrested, why the warrant was issued, but the fact that what impact would it throw on the students if a teacher is being arrested when the police with its khaki dress comes to the school, arrests her in mid of the teaching class. And what was the grave offense? The gravest offense was that she did not go for her duties to be performed as an election personnel. Now, when the matter came before us again after the notice, we were again perplexed. The reason being, the Mamlatdar had summoned her 4 times, requested her that please, this is hampering the work. And she had the audacity not even to answer it. And then out of full frustration, because he had to answer to the collector, कि ये जगह का क्या हुआ? Because they have specified roles. And these specified roles have to be performed by people who are under the election commission. The hierarchy during elections is that certain government offices or officials would be governed by them. Say for example, there is a judgment of the Gujarat High Court rendered by Justice Rajesh Shukla as he then was, where certain officers of life insurance corporation came up before the High Court. We cannot be given this work. Some teachers came before him. Then it was said that it is their basic fundamental duty. Of course, their right is there. The basic reason for not doing it was, as it curled out from the proceedings, was that it was vacation time in the schools. And so in that heat of the summer, the teacher would have to leave the school and go to about 4 or 5 kilometers. The Life Insurance Corporation officers were under an impression that we are not supposed to perform this duty. It is beyond our service jurisdiction. So it was pointed out to them that during elections, their services are put with the election commission. And therefore, at times it so happens that we forget that we have a corresponding duty. Of course, there were some gaps between law and justice. Why do I say this? If that was not so, the Supreme Court would not have been empowered under 142 to take decision to meet the ends of justice, to pass orders. There is a gap. What are these gaps? At times these gaps have to be filled in. Say for example, the judgment of Olga Tellis. Those gaps were filled in by the Supreme Court, saying that it's their right. And as Justice Dharmadhikari very rightly says, that maybe in 1975, we took away the fundamental right to property enshrined under 19(1)(f) and brought it in another article. If this right to property is coupled with my right to do business, live with dignity, then it again becomes a fundamental right enshrined in me and it becomes my human right. according to me, in India we have 4 regimes of human rights. One is the pre-Christ era and the pre-British era, which comprises of one zone. The second is the British era, and the third is the post-independence era. Say, the facet which I would first advocate before you is what many of us misread Upendra Bakshi. And I have been telling him that why are you so complex? Why can you not speak simple English? Jo log samajh sake. See, if you read his articles carefully, you will feel that he canvasses that human rights is given to us by the Britishers. But if you read in depth, he says, no, it is not. It is their belief. I'll quote him, it is their belief that they have protected our human rights. But I have an answer to that, and I do not speak without authority. I would straightway come to the British era, and there is a very nice book, which if many of you want, who are into the legal field, many of us don't know. It's a book published in 1962 by the Bombay High Court, which reads as, just 1 minute, I'll because I have jumped the era. Famous Judges, Laws and Cases of Bombay, published by P.B. Vancha in the year 1962. In the chapter of miscellaneous, there is a heading, Misdemeanors of Magistrates. Yes, many lawyers will, sitting here, may feel कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है. But therefore, in all my articles on human rights, I don't forget to narrate this, so that I can show that it was not the Britishers who gave us our human rights. It was on the contrary. They believe that they have given to the world what are your intrinsic rights. That was not before 1948. We already had them, which I'll now backtrack and take you to the pre-era of the Greeks. This inverted words, magisterial misdemeanors, goes to show that Indians were so suppressed that even magistrate would not hear the servants of European man and woman. I quote in verbatim narration from page 228 to show that from the years which have bypassed after framing of the constitution, the humans in India have been given their rights. And this paragraph would prove it. It seems that in old times in Bombay, it was common for European man and woman to send their servants to a magistrate with a note complaining of the servant's misconduct. लिख के भेज दिया. X was absent today, not present. In most cases, the magistrate proceeded straightway to act upon the note, convict the man summarily without any sort of trial, and punish him on the spot, generally with flogging and occasionally even with imprisonment. This was the state of affairs in Bombay. Now comes the later part. This thoroughly lawless practice seems to have continued till almost the time of establishment of the High Court. So till the High Court in Bombay was established, this continued. A servant would be sent, flogged, jailed, no appeals. Raho andar. a case is referred in which a darzi employed by a European was punished in this summary fashion with 3 months imprisonment for leaving his master's service without leave. But the darzi refused to take this outrage meekly. He filed a suit against the magistrate named Cornfield for damages for wrongful imprisonment. The suit was heard in the High Court, and Westrop, who was then at the bar, was engaged for the plaintiff. Westrop fought for his client stubbornly, and substantial damages were awarded to Darji, for he had a just excuse, which the magistrate never cared to inquire. The case shows how correct McTavish was in condemning these illegal practices 50 years earlier. Now again in 1880, what we normally see in movies, Hindi movies, a son appearing in a father's coat, a brother appearing in uncle's coat, that had happened in Bombay in 1880. In a matter came up before the High Court in which the conduct of a presidency magistrate appeared in a rather unfavorable light. Nana Murji was a prominent citizen of Bombay. He had been sheriff of Bombay in 1875 and was presidency magistrate in Bombay since 1867. The case was heard by Mr. Justice Marriott. The matter arose in this way. A woman was charged with some criminal offense of which ultimately she was found to be innocent. It seems that the accused woman was kept in jail for over 50 days by repeated orders of remand made by the magistrate. Impossible bail which the woman could not procure. It appeared therefore the prosecution in the case against the accused. Now here comes the clinch. The magistrate's son, Sadase, who was a barrister at law, had been engaged, and insinuations were made that the magistrate repeatedly remanded the accused to police custody because of this circumstance. This was what was argued before the High Court. When the matter came up before the High Court, Mr. Justice Marriott expressed his astonishment how such a thing could happen in a magistrate courts. He said that he did not mean to impute any motive to Mr. Nana Muroji, but the case showed how wrong and undesirable it was that the son should practice before his father in a court of law. Although the judge did not impute any improper motives to the magistrate in making the orders of remand, the government of Bombay, in view of revelations, asked the magistrate to send in his resignation. So can we say that it was the Britishers who gave us our basic rights? These are some small instances which have come. But yes, of course, these are small glimpses of showing that certain rights which are imbibed in an accused were flouted. Now, before this, it has been advocated that the British gave us this concept of human right. Right, concept of human right was given to us. Fine. But as far as natural rights were there, they were even there in all the eras which prefaced the British. And here, what I mean is dharmas does not mean a particular sect. Each religion which was followed in India had an imbibedness of protecting the rights of the people who were there. Say for example, when the society started, and there is central concept in dharma, the functional focus of which is social order. It was the social order. And if you cannot protect one's right, that social fabric would fall. say, in the constitutional debates, for Article 25, there was a huge debate which religion India should follow. Or should there be a mention of the term God? If you see Article 25, it is absent. You have the right to follow the religion. Why? Because it was believed that during the regime of Ashoka, when Buddhism was foisted, there were rebels. This is not what K.J. Thaker tells, it's there in the constitutional debates. And you can refer it to that. And that is why, after referring to several debates, several constitutions, the Indian Constitution refused to have a single religion for the country. The Dharma Shastras also in those days were based on the edifice of justice. Justice was even for the king the same. It was same for the public at large. And if you go by the scriptures, you will find that even in those days, there were corresponding duties on the subjects. Say, for example, if you cut a tree, now it was your duty to nurture it. If you cut a tree, you were to be punished. How do you punish it? Say, there were norms fixed. Say, for a fruit-bearing tree, a certain amount, or you have to either repair the damage done, this concept of human rights, of course, is new to India. Why do I say so? Say, after the Cold War, this is the third regime. After the Cold War, the United Nations felt that there should be something for the people at large. Because 1948 saw a lot of migrants and their rights being jeopardized. And therefore, in 1948, we came up with the United Nations Charter on Human Rights. Just 2 years after, we came with our constitution. And we had a chapter on fundamental rights, which correlated or interrelated with the rights which were there amalgamated in the conventions. And we were a signatory to the United Nations Charter also in those days. The Constitution, which is immediately after this, gave us civil rights. But the first drawback is the A.K. Gopalan's case. And after about 25 years, in Menka Gandhi, the said view was upturned by the Supreme Court, saying no, we'll have to read into it. And that is where it becomes a contemporary issue, having a passport. The issue was not having a passport or not having a passport. It was the fundamental right of a citizen to be heard. And that is what is human right. What does it relate to? There is no straitjacket formula that this is a human right of a person. This right will be your human right. No. Even the 1993 Act is sub-silent on this. It only says the rights relating to life, liberty, equality and dignity of the individual, guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international conventions and enforceable by courts. This is Section 2D of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. And then we found out what is known as, under the service jurisprudence, intelligible differentia. Why? Because we believe that humans are born unequals. Why do we believe it this? Because of the social status under which we are. Now, pre-1975, as we all know, the right to property was a fundamental right, and I already discussed it. But what I want to emphasize is that 1975, though is known as a dark age, and I would just love to quote the doyen of the legal profession, M.C. Chagla, who on this very soil has opined as follows. Just a second, no, please wait. I am sorry. While he was delivering lecture in Ahmedabad in 1975 on Citizens for Democracy, wherein he had put a question, what is the position today? Is anything like civil liberty in the country? The human right, or rather synonym word civil liberty, can't find place in period of 1975. This was his view. But according to me, one good facet of this dark ages was India's Prime Minister attending the conference at Stockholm, where the world was now thinking of the environment. Till 1968, nobody thought that we are coming to a disastrous peril. What about our future generations? And therefore, this 1972 Stockholm was convened. And we accepted that we would implement this convention. And the immediate was the 42nd Amendment, wherein we in India could see that even during the dark age, this ray of hope was given to us. Namely, bringing in the right to environmental safeties. Article 48A was introduced. 51AG was introduced. But unfortunately, this was under what is known as fundamental duty. But it is never brought to the pedestal of fundamental rights which are given to us. Of course, fundamental freedom is inherent. And once this inheres in us, the maxim of ubi jus ibi remedium has to follow. And therefore you have Article 226, Article 32 to redress all your grievances. Now, the world at large was against discrimination of all its kinds. They were against war. And it is now believed that there cannot be any discrimination. Otherwise, it will be violative of your fundamental freedom to live on the earth. The right to dignified life, what does it convey to us? Right to a dignified life. The Supreme Court says you cannot have what is known as a vegetative living. It has to be a meaningful living. Unless it is given to you, your basic rights are not fulfilled. So we have now what I call it as judge-made law, interpreting Article 21. Otherwise, Article 21 is a very simple article under the Constitution. But the elasticity to that article has made many of the rights which were there in the directive principle brought therein, and they have been made justiciable. Say, for example, right to education. It was never there in the fundamental rights. But now it has been elevated to that. Legislations are there. The right of women, say arrest of woman, she cannot be arrested at night. There should be a women policeman in the thana. There cannot be gender discrimination while she is serving. The second is status of refugees. What do you understand with the term refugees? Say a person comes to you, what is his status? Can you discriminate him? One more aspect. How do you treat victims of these riots? Have they to be compensated only by money, or they have to be rehabilitated? This has been now elevated to the position of fundamental right. Sexual harassment at workplace. Appellal versus A.K. Chopra and the famous judgment of Vishakha. One more aspect under 253 of the Constitution. It obliges the governments, whichever government it may come, to legislate for the welfare of its citizens and for the entire territory of India. This can be based on a treaty or based on the international convention to which India would be a signatory. Now, one more right of euthanasia has been also recognized to be a right imbibed. And the Supreme Court, I would love to quote it, law in India stands for life even for dying man's life. A human being entitled to freedom from imam body, mind and moral fiber. The right to life would also include life to live with human dignity and livelihood. Article 21 of the Constitution has now been stretched so as to include even other rights over and above mere physical survival. This is what I right to profess a particular religion. It's my right. I believe in X religion. But there is a deprecation by the Supreme Court on the word a person taking oath in name of his spiritual guru as a god. It's a celebrated judgment from South India where a gentleman, after being elected, took oath. I take oath in name of X god. This was challenged. And it was said that you cannot have a personal God. You take oath in name of God, and if you see the constitutional mandate these days, even when oath is taken, that word, may help me God, you will not find it. That has gone. Right to good environment and pollution-free environment is now the thing which India needs. And the way ahead for India is to come up in the ladder. See, we are second last in the world. Second last in the environment zone. We are considered to be the third from bottom. We were second from bottom. Recently we have come to third from bottom. And we have accepted the situation of sustainable development. See, what about those who suffer due to earthquake? What is his human right? A classical judgment where two Chief Justices come together, one a retired Chief Justice, one a sitting judge, who later on goes to the Supreme Court. They formulate a policy for the victims of the 2001 disastrous earthquake. Justice B.J. Diwan came forward, filed a writ petition in the Gujarat High Court, which was taken up by Justice B.J. Diwan. Committees were formed, and people of Bhuj and Gujarat and all were sought to be rehabilitated. There were ombudsmen appointed because it was said that the government, when it receives funds, it may not reach the people to whom it has to reach. And this has been highlighted by His Lordship Justice Dharmadhikari in his book. And those who are interested in these two books are very good on human rights. One is one by Justice Dharmadhikari, which visits human values and human rights. It's a very nicely penned book on his experiences and what are human rights. And then there is this book in honor of Upendra Bakshi, which many may or may not like because of his radical views. So in the end, philosophical human right theory is what means that we have to march ahead and give dignity to the people. There have been always interrelationships between the human rights. Even the fundamental rights are said to have been interrelated with each other. Say, right to do business is my fundamental right. At the same time, not to pollute is your fundamental duty. And which court other than Gujarat High Court would lead the forefront? Abhilash Textiles versus Rajkot Municipal Corporation. This was a case which came up before the Gujarat High Court way back in 1988, and these industries were stopped because they were polluting the only livelihood water area which was available to the people of Rajkot. And then we have this famous judgment of P.J. Patel versus State of Gujarat. But unfortunately, my heart even bleeds today the amount of 1% which was ordered, that 1% of the profit would be deposited with the government. The government has been using it, but today also a PIL is filed both before the Human Rights Commission, before the NGT, before the High Court. And if any of us moves towards the area of Kheda, you will feel that Kharikat is what was in 1995 as it is today. So where has it taken us? At the end, I just want to pose two questions. Maybe I've been advised not to do that. It may not be taken as otherwise, and I don't want any answers to it. You may think over. What is the fate of the migrant workers post-COVID-19? And second, has this constitutional casteism, as I put it, has done good for the Indian society to march ahead as far as the indigenous people are concerned or not? Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ashish ji, for giving me this opportunity. And I hope I have stood to your expectations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaushal Thaker, for delivering very meticulous lecture. Even quoting with an example makes your lecture more interesting. A layman like me can also understand the language of the law. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, I request you, if any question to be asked from the audience, I shall be.
Yes,
please.
Yes.
Namaste, sir. Wonderful and very enlightening talk by you. I'm very thankful to you. I'm Dr. Nishita. Sir, I have two questions to ask. Number one, in a global perspective, the human rights of an immigrant, illegal immigrant, I must say illegal only, like the Rohingyas and all those people who are illegally coming to India, but still they have a cover of human rights over them, and how protecting their human rights if our human rights are harmed. So what is, Indian people who are in the vicinity of those people, like there are in Delhi and in Hyderabad and several places, they have already occupied several colonies and all. So there are security threats also. So, yeah.
The
So,
only word is, we are a secular country. One. Second, our tolerance is there and our government policies are there that we cannot, because the international covenants will not permit you to throw away those people.
so
And you don't know. It is our perception that he is an illegal migrant. Who will prove it? That I am an illegal migrant.
they don't have the required papers
Required
as of
papers,
now.
On the very lighter side, required papers. Have you seen the movie Johnny Double Two? You can have them immediately. I know quite a few of them.
So
For-
it's a, yeah.
No, I was a voter in two states for 7 years. How can that be? I was either a minister. My name was shown in Allahabad also, where I was serving. And it was here also. So how do you prove that he is an illegal migrant? The moment it is proved, he can be sent back.
So it's a gray area.
Yes,
It's a gray
absolute
area.
gray area. It is better we don't delve into it during these times.
And sir,
There are
another,
more murky times.
yes. Sir, another question is, As you mentioned about the right of accused in the beginning of your lecture, so presently, the right of accused is also his own human right. So does it cover a right to dignity? Like when, for example, if somebody is booked in POXO Act or any some sort of an act where the identity of victim is not disclosed, but the identity of the accused is disclosed from day one. And he is suffering the social stigma, social boycott, everything.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, and therefore,
Yeah.
therefore, the new Samhita which has come, that has also been looked into. Let me tell you one of the judgments which I have pronounced immediately after the COVID sit-in. This boy, at the prime age of 21, was facing charges of rape with molestation, and for that he was sentenced for 10 years. But at the same time, the major offence attributed to him was under the Atrocities Act, as we call it. And for that, though there was no evidence, the learned judge sentenced him for life. Where does his dignity go? At the end of the day, when the matter came up before the High Court, this man had turned what was about 42 years of age. He was in jail for 21 years.
The whole life.
And when we read the depositions, there was not an iota of word that the offence was committed because the lady belonged to that strata of life.
Sir, you are mentioning about Vishnu Sharma's case?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a famous judgment. And on the lighter side, immediately 1 year after Vishnu Sharma's judgment came Ram Sharma's judgment. Both in UP.
Yes.
Both languishing in jail.
True.
Ram also suffered the same. Vishnu also suffered the same.
Yes, sir.
Now what about, and still, we did not give him compensation for this illegal confinement in jail because we didn't want to enter into that grey area as brother judges.
But sir, when he will get the justice? I mean, people like them.
He has got justice. Thereafter, again he was duped. Again, he married, and after 1 year that lady again duped him with all his belongings. એટલે ગુજરાતીમાં જે કહેવત છે ને કર્મનો સિદ્ધાંત હશે કંઈક બિચારાનો કર્મ.
Sir, you were mentioning about the right to, I mean, dignity for the accused while he is not convicted. I mean, till the, if he is acquitted, till then, still he faces media trial and all those things. That was my question. Is there any provision to stop that? No. Okay.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful knowledge with the case and everything. My questions may be a little bit, very simple because I'm not from the law background. I'm a common citizen. So my question is that, human rights violations are there everywhere in the society, in the, workplace, wherever.
Every walk of life.
Every walk of life, right?
Fine.
Because I'm not aware about, I don't know whether there is a violation or not. Right. So maybe you have said one thing that, for 3 or 4, sections or 3 or 4 rights, which I came to know about, that right to be heard, right to be dignified living and everything, There are many more, which I am not aware about it. One sexual harassment you said about the woman at a workplace. So it is mandated, that employer has to do the awareness session. Is there any provision, such provisions that for human rights also they should get the knowledge, so that they came to know about their rights?
Yes, because Ashish bhai told me to abruptly stop. I didn't go through the
Okay.
legal camps which are being held.
Okay.
There are legal camps where the judges, lawyers, all go to the villages to train people, tell them about their rights.
Okay. Okay. So that is actually I was about to ask, is there any forum where I can understand my rights, not in the terminology of law, but in a very simplified
Except
manner
Google,
where I can
everywhere
understand?
you can get it. Don't go by Google.
Because maybe I am not aware about the forums. That's why what I wanted to understand, that people can go and they can
You're
understand.
absolutely
Yeah.
right. There were forums, there were legal literacy camps going on.
Okay.
The constitutional mandate. You are a literate man, you can read the constitution,
Yes.
read Article 14, read Article 16, read Article 15, read Article 25, and that will give you the knowledge.
I'll get many of the people, maybe I can read it, but many of them don't have that access, but they want to know about, and they have the right to know about,
Yes, they
so
have
where
right
they
to
can
know.
go, and a common person,
Then you have this legal literacy camps.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Respected sir, yeah. I'm just a student and I was going through the YouTube sessions on the United Nations. So there's a United Nations YouTube session available. So at that level, India's representation is very, very less as compared to another country.
What representation? Where? Which representation?
At United Nation level, there are many, they're not very, as compared to the another countries, there are 500 people representing for any other country, like for the US. In India, they are not representing that level. So how education?
Therefore, I told you in the beginning, no madam, please don't go by Google. India, United Nations does not have people representative. It's a country which represents. See,
Yes,
I may
agree.
not, my country may send only 2 of them together. See, at the Olympics, I may send 150. You may send 500. Am I clear on
Yes.
that? It's a country which is being represented. See, according to me, one person may be enough to meet all of them. I couldn't get your question, to be very frank.
But I think more awareness should be given to the.
No, I don't understand your question.
I was asking why so less representation at
No,
that
there is
level.
no less representation in the United Nations. India is being represented as a country. Don't go by YouTube news. I'll just give you one small example of a distorted versioned news. Like this, one minute. Like this, the other day I was in CE giving a lecture on contemporary India with that famous star, Mishraji. He spoke something. I only said that I was over outspoken, and one of the reasons for my transfer may be that. So this was an obscure statement. Nothing to do with any government, nothing to do with the collegium, nothing to do with anything. And in the core of my speech, which I have been always advocating, as I advocated today also, that we have rich legacy. So I said, why always Indian jurisprudence, the books on in India, on jurisprudence, on legalities, speak only of Saman, Bodenheimer. Why can we not have Manusmruti? Why can we not have Kautilya? This gentleman, if he can be so called, a blogger, comes out with a news item where just after I spoke, before me, Justice Divakar had lambasted the collegium system. Judges, they abhi collegium ko ye kiya. And he correlates both, my word. जस्टिस ठाकर ने कहा कि मैं अपने जजमेंटों में ग्रीक फिलोसॉफी, ये फिलोसॉफी की निंदा करता हूँ, इसलिए कॉलेजियम ने मेरा तबादला कर दिया. So don't go by YouTube, don't go by Google. They don't give you full answers. I've been telling students, I've been telling judges, Google doesn't have all that you need.
But for as a common person, like if I
Common
have to
person,
watch, so I
ये
will go only
एक
to
बात सुनिए
YouTube.
मैडम, आप लॉ पढ़ी हो ना?
No, no.
You are a student. Student of what?
I'm a chartered accountant.
चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ना, तो काहे अपने सीनियरों के पास जाते हो?
Verify all the details before taking it.
Why? Why do you not take your lessons only from Google? See, what I mean to tell is that the books or your senior, they have the hard realities of what is Google. Say it's like what I read on my daily horoscope. And let me tell you, I have found this. आज का जो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया अहमदाबाद में आएगा, उसमें इफ यू आर टॉरस, वही कल दिल्ली में आपका भाग्य होगा. वो आज यहाँ छपता है. चेक इट आउट. गो टू दिल्ली, द टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया न्यूज़पेपर, यू विल फाइंड दिस. So don't go by this. Say for example, today only we had taken action on a newspaper cutting. The officer comes out with all full facts and figures. He said, બધા રસ્તા છે, એક જ રસ્તો તૂટી ગયો છે. And that is this UN crime. There is a very nice book written by Raghuram on the third pillar. It's worth reading for chartered accountants. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
I think she's still confused. So you mean that, have you come across any such example which is, you feel that India is not representing proper in UN? Is it like that?
I will, at school level, we are not taught about all this. So so there's no education as such. So we need, like, I was interested, that was I came here.
Okay. You'll find the United Nations Charter. Please go.
So then more awareness, more, as you said, literacy programs, campaign.
Tell Ashish to call some international figure who can give more on this.
I am also chartered accountant.
I'm too petty a man on all this. On international affairs. આપણે કુવામાંના ઝીડકા જેવું બરાબર.
Yes, sir.
Yes. ઓ ભાઈ, ચા નાસ્તો કરવાનો તો ઘરે મોકલવાનો.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I had one question. I mean, I am again a common man. I am least known
lawyers
about.
are also common men. Who told you we are not common men?
Yeah.
We don't have any speech.
Actually, not much aware about the laws and all. The thing is that, sir, you told about the property rights. I mean, if it is be collated with, I mean, collaborated with the business, then it comes to
Not
you.
only business, with your fundamental right.
Business is a fundamental right, and see, actually, the
Business is not a fundamental right.
properties are fundamental.
Property is not a fundamental. Then you have mistaken what I told. You were busy with your Google. Let me tell you.
Sir, actually.
What is your question?
So the thing is that my father was having an inherent property and someone has stolen away from us. So
That
any
is not a fundamental right, as simple as it is. You go to the court of law, you can't file a writ against a private individual. Your lawyer will also not advise you like that. Sorry.
oh, okay, so we can't go to human right forums and all.
ના ના આવતો જ નહીં. ગઈકાલે જ ટીકા થઈ છે. How do you entertain private people? એ ના કરતા.
Last question.
Yes.
Anyone?
Anybody?
Sir, one more question. Sometimes we are seeing in the courts that the judges are very less compared to the number of cases, because we have personally faced that. NCLT Mumbai, we were logging a case out there. There were only during the Corona to 2023 there were 5 courts and only 2 judges in NCLT. So does the government don't have enough money with them? They can appoint the judge, or is there something else? As a common man, I really don't know.
I am not government. I can't answer this.
But any sir?
I can't answer this. I don't want to go into that grey area.
Okay.
And he has the relevant subject of the subject matter, that is more important.
No, I don't want to go into that. That's a human right to get proper justice at proper time.
So sir, any...
But it's for the government, it's for the Supreme Court, it's for the High
But
Court.
actually, as a common man, we are facing lot of problem. For years, we have to fight in courts, and we are not able to get even the our case on the board and that all the issues. As a common individual, I am
પણ
telling.
આ proper forum નથી.
So any sir, any place where we can
Go to
and any solution may come out or something.
બસો વ્યવસ્થિત તો નથી આવ્યું હવે. યુટોપિયન કન્ટ્રી લાવીએ તો થાય. બસો વ્યવસ્થિત તો અનુવાદ છે.
Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for giving patience hearing. Ahmedabad Management Association is very thankful to you and Dr. Justice Kaushal Bhai Thaker sahab. Thank you so much. Thank you.